In the rain-slicked back alleys of Seoul, Minwoo, a brilliant strategist with sharp silver-white hair and piercing ice-blue eyes, held his dying sister in his arms. He wore a torn black trench coat now soaked with blood and rain. Around them, the neon signs of the city flickered mockingly. The betrayal had come from the very top, orchestrated by the ruthless Chairman Kang. As his sister's grip loosened, Minwoo's tear-filled eyes hardened into ice. He swore an oath of absolute vengeance. He would dismantle Kang's empire, destroying every single person who had a hand in this tragedy, no matter the cost. 3 years passed in complete silence. Minwoo, now sporting his signature silver-white hair and a sharp jawline, lived in the shadows as a ghost. He wore a simple dark hoodie and studied a wall covered in glowing monitors and complex flowcharts. His ice-blue eyes scanned the financial data of Chairman Kang's massive conglomerate. He had rebuilt his body and his mind, transforming himself from a mere soldier into the ultimate shadow broker. He was no longer just seeking a simple assassination. He wanted to tear down Kang's legacy, exposing every dark secret to the light of day. Minwoo, dressed in a sleek black tailored suit that contrasted with his bright silver-white hair and ice-blue eyes, easily infiltrated a high-society corporate gala. He held a champagne glass, blending seamlessly with the corrupt elites. His target tonight was Director Park, Kang's corrupt financial advisor. Park was a heavy-set man with balding hair and a nervous sweat, clutching a leather briefcase. Minwoo watched him from across the grand ballroom under crystal chandeliers. The game of chess had officially begun, and Minwoo was about to make his very first, devastating move against the Empire. Following Director Park into a secluded VIP lounge, Minwoo locked the heavy mahogany door behind him. The room was dimly lit with warm, dramatic shadows. Minwoo stood tall, his silver-white hair catching the faint light and his ice-blue eyes radiating a cold, terrifying intensity. Park gasped, dropping his glass. Minwoo pulled up a chair and sat down with calm grace, revealing a file containing decades of Park's embezzlements. The director's face drained of color as he realized his entire life was now in the hands of a mysterious specter who knew everything. Suddenly, Director Park lunged for a hidden gun under his desk. Minwoo, moving with supernatural speed, grabbed Park's wrist, twisting it until the bones cracked. The gun clattered to the floor. Minwoo's ice-blue eyes showed no mercy as he pinned the heavy-set man to the desk. This was not a negotiation, it was an execution of Park's career. With a cold whisper, Minwoo gave him a choice: hand over the decryption keys to Chairman Kang's secret ledger, or face immediate ruin and death. The air in the room grew heavy with suffocating, violent tension. The next morning, the financial world woke up to absolute chaos. Director Park's dirty ledgers were leaked to every major media outlet. Minwoo stood on a windy rooftop overlooking the sprawling city skyline, his black trench coat billowing around him, his silver-white hair messy and his ice-blue eyes calm. Below him, news screens on skyscrapers broadcasted Park's arrest. Minwoo had successfully severed Chairman Kang's right hand, but this was only the first step. The snake's tail had been cut, but the head was still very much alive and would soon strike back. Inside a massive, luxurious penthouse office, Chairman Kang stood by a panoramic window. He was a powerful man with slick-back gray hair, a sharp scar over his left eyebrow, wearing a tailored navy suit. His face was twisted in silent fury as he stared at the news of Park's downfall. Beside him, several bodyguards trembled in fear. Kang realized this was not a random leap. Someone was actively hunting his associates. He ordered his men to find the shadow broker, promising a mountain of gold for the head of whoever dared to challenge him. Minwoo retreated to his hidden basement safe house, filled with glowing computer screens and server racks. There he met Hanbyul, his trusted hacker ally. Hanbyul, a young woman with short purple hair and round glasses, wore an oversized yellow sweater. She was frantically typing on a keyboard, her eyes wide with excitement. Minwoo, with his calm silver-white hair and ice-blue eyes, stood over her shoulder. Hanbyul pointed to a major lead. Chairman Kang was hosting a secret VIP auction at an underground casino, where his most illegal assets would be sold off to foreign buyers. Under the cover of night, Minwoo arrived at the opulent underground casino, hidden deep beneath a historic theater. He wore an elegant black tuxedo, his silver-white hair neatly styled, and his ice-blue eyes hidden behind stylish dark glasses. The atmosphere was thick with smoke, gold trim, and the soft clink of poker chips. Wealthy criminals and corrupt politicians laughed, unaware that a wolf had entered their sheepfold. Minwoo slipped past the heavy security guards, his focus locked on the high-security vault where the auction ledger was stored, ready to strike another blow. In the vault room, surrounded by lasers and steel doors, Minwoo bypassed the security panel with Hanbyul's remote help. His ice-blue eyes reflected the green glow of the terminal as his gloved fingers flew across the keypad. Suddenly, the alarms blared, bathing the room in flashing red light. The heavy vault door locked tight, trapping Minwoo inside. From the security cameras, Chairman Kang's scarred face appeared on a monitor, laughing mockingly. Kang had anticipated the move and turned the vault into a deadly trap. The oxygen in the room began to rapidly deplete. The steel door was blown open from the outside, but not by rescue. A lethal mercenary known as the Viper entered the room wielding twin daggers. The Viper was a scarred warrior in tactical gear with a cruel grin. Minwoo, his silver-white hair disheveled and his ice-blue eyes blazing, dodged a rapid swipe of the daggers. The room became a blur of steel and fists. Minwoo used his black trench coat to deflect a strike, executing a perfect counterkick that sent the mercenary crashing into a rack of server drives, sparks flying everywhere in the red-lit room. Minwoo stood over the defeated mercenary, holding one of the Viper's daggers cold against the man's throat. His ice-blue eyes were dead and empty of warmth, his silver-white hair casting shadows over his face. He demanded the master override code. With the code secured, Minwoo unlocked the vault and took the ledger, leaving the unconscious mercenary behind. He walked out of the burning casino lobby as chaos erupted behind him, dialing Chairman Kang's private number directly to let him hear the sound of his empire burning. This was a declaration of open war. The leak of the VIP auction ledger caused panic among the global elite. Chairman Kang's stock prices plummeted overnight, and his allies quickly abandoned him to save themselves. Minwoo sat in a quiet, dark cafe, wearing a simple gray coat over his silver-white hair. His ice-blue eyes watched the television screen above the counter, displaying the crashing market. He drank his black coffee in absolute silence. The financial foundation of Kang's empire was completely shattered. Now only the physical fortress remained. Minwoo knew the final confrontation was approaching rapidly. Desperate to draw out his hidden enemy, Duke Richard set a trap. He announced a public execution of several innocent citizens accused of conspiring with the Abyss assassin. He stationed his elite mages and archers in hidden positions around the central square, waiting for Adrian to make a rescue attempt. Kalen warned Adrian that it was a suicide mission, but Adrian refused to let innocent blood be spilled in his name. He devised a counter-strategy that would turn Richard's trap into a bloody theater. Wearing his midnight black coat, Adrian blended into the gathering crowd, his icy blue eyes locked on the executioner standing on the wooden platform. Just as the executioner raised his axe, the sky turned a bruised, unnatural purple. Adrian stepped forward, releasing an explosive wave of dark pressure that shattered the cobblestones. The hidden archers fired, but their arrows dissolved into dust as they entered the swirling barrier of shadow magic surrounding Adrian. Kalen leaped from the rooftops, cutting down the mages before they could cast their spells. Adrian walked casually onto the platform, his dark coat billowing in the chaotic wind. With a flick of his wrist, the executioner was thrown off the stage. Adrian freed the prisoners, his voice echoing across the square, declaring that the true criminal sat on the throne of Wormwood. The crowd erupted into a riot as citizens began to fight back against the guards. Amidst the chaos, the elite commander of the Duke's Guard, a massive man in heavy plate armor, charged at Adrian. The commander swung a massive greatsword, but Adrian dodged the blow effortlessly, his movements liquid and precise. He grabbed the blade with his bare, shadow-infused hand, the metal cracking under his grip. Looking into the commander's terrified eyes, Adrian whispered a message for the Duke before unleashing a blast of dark energy that sent the commander crashing through the stone walls of the nearby barracks, utterly defeated and broken. With the prison break successful and the city in open rebellion, Adrian returned to his hideout to prepare for the final phase of his plan. He knew that Richard would now consolidate all his remaining forces inside the inner castle, turning it into an impenetrable fortress. To breach it, Adrian decided to exploit the Duke's growing paranoia. He sent Kalen to deliver a final warning directly to the Duke's bedchamber, a single, blood-soaked crown placed on his pillow while he slept. When Richard awoke to find the crown, he realized his security was a joke. His mind snapped, and he ordered his forces to prepare for an immediate, desperate confrontation. The night of the final confrontation arrived. Duke Richard held a grand banquet, forcing the remaining loyal nobles to attend as a display of his fading power. The Great Hall was lit by hundreds of candles, but the atmosphere was tense and suffocating. Armed guards lined every wall, their hands trembling on their weapons. Richard sat on his stolen throne, clad in golden plate armor, drinking heavily to dull his fear. He believed that within his fortress, surrounded by his entire army, he was safe. He did not know that the very wine he was drinking had been laced with a slow-acting curse, prepared by Adrian using the toxic essence of the Abyss. Suddenly, the heavy iron doors of the Great Hall blasted inward, turning into lethal shrapnel that cut down the guards standing nearby. The candles flickered and died, plunging the room into pitch-black darkness, save for the eerie purple glow of Adrian's magic. Adrian walked through the dust and smoke, his long ink-black hair swaying, his midnight black coat embroidered with silver catching the faint light. Beside him walked Kalen, his amber eye gleaming with lethal intent. The nobles screamed in terror, scrambling to escape, but the exit doors slammed shut, sealed by tendrils of living shadow that crawled along the walls like black ivy. Duke Richard rose from his throne, his golden armor clanking as he drew his massive glowing broadsword. He He roared at his guards to attack, but the soldiers were paralyzed by fear as the shadows began to manifest into monstrous shapes. Kalen moved like a blur, his dual daggers finding the weak points in the guard's armor with lethal precision. Adrian did not even draw a physical weapon. He simply walked toward the throne, his icy blue eyes locked onto his uncle. Every guard that stepped in his path was cast aside by violent bursts of dark kinetic force, leaving a trail of broken bodies in his wake. You should be dead," Richard screamed, his voice cracking with terror as he recognized the face of his nephew. "I watched you drink the poison. I watched them throw you into the abyss." Adrian stopped at the base of the throne steps, a cold, elegant smile forming on his face. "The abyss welcomed me, uncle," Adrian replied, his voice carrying the chilling resonance of 1,000 souls. "It gave me a crown of shadows to replace the one you stole, and tonight I have come to collect your debt." With those words, Adrian unleashed a torrent of black flames that engulfed the throne, forcing Richard to leap back in desperation. The final duel began. Duke Richard, fueled by sheer desperation and the power of his golden holy magic, swung his broadsword, unleashing waves of searing light to counter Adrian's darkness. The clash of light and shadow shook the very foundations of the castle, shattering the stained glass windows and cracking the ancient stone pillars. Richard was a formidable warrior, but his movements were sluggish, slowed down by the creeping poison Adrian had slipped into his wine. Adrian moved like a phantom, easily dodging the heavy swings, taunting his uncle with every missed strike, reminding him of the physical and mental torture he had endured in the toxic depths. Richard's holy light began to dim as the toxic curse took hold of his mana veins. He coughed up black blood, his knees buckling under the weight of his own armor. This is cheating," Richard gasped, clutching his chest. Adrian stood over him, his dark coat untouched by the battle, his cold, icy blue eyes showing no mercy. "You speak of cheating, uncle, you who poisoned a child in his own home." Adrian raised his hand, summoning a massive spear of concentrated dark energy. "I am simply returning the favor with interest." He drove the spear down, pinning Richard's shoulder to the stone floor. As Richard writhed in agony, Adrian leaned down, repeating the same words his uncle had whispered to him 3 years ago. "History will remember you as a usurper who fell to his own greed, leaving the duchy to its rightful lord." With a cold, calculated strike, Adrian channeled the decaying magic of the abyss directly into Richard's heart. The golden armor shattered, and the duke's body began to turn to ash, dissolved by the dark, toxic power. Richard's final scream echoed through the ruined hall before he was completely erased from existence, leaving nothing but a pile of black dust on the steps of the throne. The silence that followed was deafening. The remaining guards threw down their weapons and knelt in absolute surrender. Kalen stepped up to the dais, bowing deeply to Adrian, acknowledging him as the true Duke of Wormwood. Adrian walked up the steps, his long black coat sweeping over the ashes of his uncle. He turned and looked down at the ruined hall, his icy blue eyes reflecting the dawn light breaking through the shattered windows. He had achieved his vengeance, but his heart felt hollow, filled only with the cold, dark power of the abyss. He sat upon the throne, the crownless king who had conquered death itself.